We are back with the week 2 wide receiver rankings in tier format. Let's not waste any time. Hit the like, subscribe, and let's get right into the video. Tier 1, these guys are going to eat all season long. So many targets split up between these 6 guys. You know, people were worried, is Adams going to get the same type of volume in Las Vegas? Yes. Is A.J. Brown going to get the volume we've wanted him to get since Tennessee didn't throw a lot? Answer, yes. I think 13 targets there, and Devonta Smith was a non-factor. These guys here, just target after target. Obviously, everybody knows I love Jamar Chase, and he was number 1 last week, but you cannot deny Jefferson and Kupp and the just crazy amount of targets that those guys are going to get, touchdown equity, everything. Everybody in this list, though, I wish I had more of all of them. They are monsters, and we can get on to tier 2 now. Tyreek Hill is a guy probably right on the cusp of tier 1 and tier 2. He's going to get a lot of work as well, but I feel just a little more comfortable about the offenses and the touchdown upside of the guys above. I think Tyreek Hill is going to see himself in tier 1 plenty of weeks. This week, I've just got him a little bit below A.J. Brown and in that tier 1, and look forward to seeing more of this Tua Tyreek Hill connection. Michael Pittman looked amazing in week 1 for the Colts. Mike Evans still looking great, but he's got that Lattimore matchup this week in New Orleans. Deebo Samuel, an off game for him, but we've seen that they're still going to use him as a rusher. And then with Elijah Mitchell going down, that's probably going to only be a bigger factor in his game. So we like that. Marquise Brown, Michael Thomas is back. We get Saquon and Michael Thomas back at the same time. They've both been missing from fantasy for about the same amount of time, and both of them back 2022 week 1 and just ball out. So we love seeing that. Tier 2, bunch of solid guys, bunch of good fantasy options here. I'm loving this tier. And a lot of these guys are probably going to find themselves in tier 1 in certain weeks throughout the season. Tier 3, we have a lot more question marks. What's going to happen with a lot of these guys? Mike Williams didn't have the production, but in regards to target share, fine. Jalen Waddle didn't have the volume that he had last year, but had a big, long touchdown. That's good to see. DK Metcalf with Geno Smith. If Geno Smith he doesn't even have to play as well as he did in week 1, but if he can just play 75% of that, we're going to see plenty of targets for DK Metcalf. And I don't expect Seattle to be leading in a lot of games, so I expect him to have to throw more. Geno looked better than we thought he was going to, and DK is going to get a ton of targets in this offense, so he's still in tier 3 for me. CeeDee Lamb's here in tier 3. Obviously, this was a guy that was on the cusp of tier 1, but Dak Prescott being out, what are we going to see out of Cooper Rush? Can't be comfortable putting Lamb in the lineup right now. So he's got to drop down into tier 3, and I'm afraid we might see him drop further as this season progresses. Gabriel Davis, I've got to buy in a little bit. I got to move him up into tier 3. I think he was in tier 4 last week. I don't know how you get as open as he was. The only other wide receiver in week 1 that I saw get consistently open as Gabriel was Justin Jefferson. But my question is this more a Rams issue, or is this Gabriel Davis is really just that good? I could be wrong having him this low. I could be wrong about him and the talent, but I got to see it a little bit more before moving him up. But he rounds out tier 3. Down here in tier 4, Jarvis Landry was left for dead before this season. He had the most air yards out of wide receivers in week 1. I don't expect New Orleans to be trailing like they were for the majority of the season, especially to teams like Atlanta. So I don't know that their volume is going to be as high as it was in week 1. But he looked good. He looks fine. He's the number 2. Mike Thomas is the number 1. Olave will also be okay in this offense, but he's going to learn from some good wide receivers, and I think that's going to benefit him in the future. But for now, I just don't think he's going to get enough targets for us to feel comfortable putting him in the lineup without an injury to one of these other 2 guys. But Jarvis Landry tops off tier 4, and we could see him high-end tier 3 here over the next couple weeks. Tyler Boyd, now I don't have Higgins in here because of the concussion. We don't know if he's going to play, so that's the only reason why he's not in these rankings. But I didn't go ahead and move Tyler Boyd to where he would go if Higgins is out. If Higgins is out, you can move Boyd up into the high-end tier 3 range in this Bengals offense. We see Allen Robinson in here. A lot of people are talking crap. Same thing as last year. Robinson is done. There were a lot of plays, if you watch the game and you watch the film, where Allen Robinson was open, but Stafford kind of tunnel visioned on Cup, and we're going to see how that plays out. I expect Robinson to get more work as this season progresses. It was their first week together. They're still learning how to play with each other. I think Robinson is going to be fine. A lot of people freaking out. And if you can trade, I would go trade for him, but he does have to be down here because we just don't know what Stafford's going to do. I don't think this is an issue with talent per se. Cooper Kupp's a monster, and it seemed like every time that he threw to him, he looked at him, and that was the only option that he looked at. And hopefully that changes and we round that out and get Robinson some of that work. Christian Kirk, another guy, if we continue to see that type of production, he's going to move up, but we need some more touchdown upside out of that Jaguars offense. So hopefully we'll see more of that. Brandon Ayuk, another guy that I expect to get up into tier 3 throughout the season. Week 1 was a sloppy game, but he looked good. Elijah Moore is the big question mark in this tier for me because the targets were pretty even between him, Corey Davis, and Garrett Wilson. If that's going to be the case every week, none of these guys may end up getting higher than tier 4 just because of the work being so spread out. But it was a lot. I think it was like 7, 8, 9 targets or 9, 8, and 8 or something like that. So they all got a lot of work, but it's coming from Joe Flacco, which makes it real tough. This offense isn't moving real well, and the touchdown upside just may not be there. Right now, I still have Elijah Moore a little bit ahead with Corey Davis at 2, with Garrett Wilson eventually going to take over, I think, as the best wide receiver in this threesome here. Down in tier 5, my guy, Robbie Anderson. I was telling people all year he wasn't even getting drafted in a lot of drafts, that Robbie Anderson with Baker Mayfield was probably going to be a pretty good match. In week 1, it showed out, and Robbie Anderson is going to continue to get targets throughout this season. It's him and DJ Moore in that passing offense with, CMC out of the backfield. But those two guys are going to get the majority of the wide receiver targets. And Robbie Anderson has big playability. We saw it there in week 1. And after struggling last year, he was one of my bounce back candidates with a QB upgrade. He's not catching balls from Sam Darnold anymore. And I look forward to him. I think he'll be moving up tiers and rankings as the season progresses. But Robbie Anderson, I'm glad to see him back in the ranking list. Jahan Dotson makes his debut on the list after a great first game of his career with 2 touchdowns, helping McLaurin out. That's what they need there in Washington. I'm glad to see him make this list after 1, and his teammate Curtis Samuel also. The question is, out of these 2 guys, how are we going to see that week-to-week production? It's a little bit scary. I'm not quite ready to pencil Curtis Samuel in as a weekly starter, but love the talent. He's familiar with the staff, was in Washington, but injured prior to this season. If they're going to continue to use him like that, he's going to be a valuable piece as well. Amari Cooper, that offense is poop, and he just didn't get the work. And it's sad because I think we're going to see a drastic change when Deshaun Watson gets back. Right now, I don't want to play any of the pass catchers for Cleveland Browns. Devonta Smith, he was basically relegated to nothing with the arrival of AJB in the first game. I don't expect that to continue. I expect that to get spread out a little bit more, but it was troublesome. Hopefully that changes here in week 2, but right now he's a tier 5 guy. The last guy I want to talk about is Drake London. Came out. He looked good in his first NFL game. I expect Atlanta to have to throw more, so I expect Drake London to continue to move up these rankings and get a little bit higher. I think he's probably going to be our most productive rookie wide receiver for the 2022 season. Right now, still tier 5. Let's see it a little bit more, and then we can move him up these ranks on a week-to-week basis. But I want to thank you. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell so you don't miss any of these tier videos, live streams, or any other shows that we do. If you want to see more of the tier videos, you can hit the playlist right here, and we will be back with more tier videos later this week.